The air in the Oval Office hung thick with the scent of polished leather and fresh coffee. Sunlight sliced through the heavy drapes. It cast long shadows across the mahogany desk. President Donald Trump sat behind it. His fingers drummed a slow rhythm on the surface. He glanced at the clock. 2:47 p.m. Right on time. The door opened with a soft click. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis entered. His suit was crisp. His tie was straight as a ruler. He carried a briefcase stuffed with reports. DeSantis nodded once. His face showed calm confidence. Trump gestured to the chair opposite him. No small talk? Not today. Sit, Trump said. His voice filled the room. It was gravelly and direct. DeSantis lowered himself into the seat. The president leaned forward, his eyes locked on DeSantis. Ron, you've been busy in Florida, building something big, but let's cut the games. Those subsidies, $2.4 billion from the federal pot. For what? Your pet projects? DeSantis did not flinch. He placed a folder on the desk. Its edges were worn from handling. Mr. President, those funds went straight to infrastructure, hurricane recovery. We've rebuilt 47 bridges. We've fortified 12 coastal refineries. Florida's economy grew 3.8% last quarter because of it. Without that support, we'd be underwater, literally. Trump's pen clicked once, twice. He exhaled sharply. The sound echoed in the quiet. A map of Florida lay open before him. Red lines marked federal dollars flowing south. Recovery? Sure, but let's look closer. He slid a tablet across the desk. Numbers glowed on the screen. $1.2 billion allocated to emergency ports and only $400 million spent on actual repairs. The rest funneled to private contractors with ties to DeSantis's campaign donors. DeSantis's jaw tightened. He leaned in. His voice stayed steady. Those are preliminary audits, delays from supply chains. Global shortages hit everyone. Steel prices up 22% since the storms. Accuse me of waste and you're ignoring the facts. Florida delivers results. Tourists back to 95% pre-hurricane levels. Jobs created 18,000 in the last 6 months. The room felt smaller now. Trump stood. He paced to the window. Outside, the rose garden bloomed under a clear sky. But inside, tension coiled like smoke. He turned back. He pointed a finger. Results? Or results for your friends? I've got reports, internal ones from the GAO. They say 60% of those contracts bypassed competitive bidding, straight to firms that donated $5 million to your re-election PAC. That's not recovery, Ron. That's a scheme. DeSantis rose slowly. His chair scraped the carpet. He met Trump's gaze. He did not flinch. You want to talk schemes? Look at the federal level. Defense budgets bloated by 15% under your watch. Funneled to bases in red states. Florida gets crumbs while others feast. If you pull those subsidies now, you're not saving money. You're crippling a key ally. Our ports handle 40% of U.S. imports, $800 billion in goods last year. Cut us, and the whole supply chain collapses. Trump's laugh was short. It was bark-like. He dropped back into his chair. He grabbed the phone on the desk. Allie, you're playing both sides. I called this meeting because I trust you, or I did, but these numbers don't lie. He punched a button. Speaker on. A voice crackled through. Sir, the briefing packet is ready. Shall I send the full dossier? DeSantis's eyes narrowed. The folder in his hand felt heavier now. Dossier? What's this about, Donald? If you got something, lay it out. We're not on the campaign trail anymore. The president smiled. It was thin and sharp. He tapped the tablet again. He pulled up a grainy email chain, hacked perhaps, or leaked from somewhere deep in the bureaucracy. Dates from 6 months back. DeSantis's signature on memos. They pushed for discretionary funds to a shadowy LLC. Transfers $300 million. Destination, offshore accounts linked to foreign investors eyeing Florida real estate. You say recovery. I see theft, Trump said. His voice dropped low. Each word was deliberate. 18,000 jobs. Try 12,000 ghost positions on payrolls that never existed. Victims? The taxpayers footing 70% of the bill while your state skimps on matching funds. Florida's surplus hit $4 billion this year, yet you begged for more from D.C. Why? DeSantis's hand clenched the folder's edge. Paper crinkled under his grip. He stepped closer. His voice rose just a notch. Begged? We earned it. Hurricanes cost us $150 billion in damages. FEMA's own estimate. Your administration approved the aid. Signed the checks. Now you turn on me? This is politics, not principle. Pull the funds and watch Florida swing blue in the midterms. 29 electoral votes up for grabs. Trump ignored the edge in the voice. His eyes bored in. He clicked the pen again. The sound punctuated the silence. Outside, a distant helicopter whirred. Blades cut the air. The president leaned back. He steepled his fingers. Politics. This is power. You've got your schemes. I've got mine. But if you think I'll let $2.4 billion vanish into your pockets, think again. DeSantis straightened. He adjusted his tie with deliberate calm. Then expose me. Do it publicly. But remember, your hands aren't clean. That defense contract to Lockheed, $47 billion over budget. And who got the kickbacks? He paused. The words hung. The room's air grew stale. It was heavy with unspoken threats. Trump's face hardened. He nodded to the aide on the line. Send it now. To the press pool. The voice confirmed. The line clicked dead. DeSantis froze. Realization dawned. The folder slipped from his fingers. Pages scattered across the carpet like fallen leaves. You wouldn't, DeSantis whispered. But his eyes said he knew. Trump's smile returned. It was colder now. Wouldn't I? Watch the 6 p.m. news, Governor. The door to the Oval Office swung open. Secret Service agents stepped in. Their faces were blank. DeSantis turned toward the exit. He gathered the papers himself. But as he reached the threshold, his phone buzzed in his pocket. A text from an unknown number. The real dossier is coming. Yours. He stopped. His hand was on the knob. The weight of betrayal settled like lead. The fluorescent lights buzzed faintly. In the Florida Governor's Mansion conference room. It was 7:15 p.m. The windows overlooked Tallahassee's dimming skyline. Ron DeSantis paced the carpeted floor. His tie was loosened. His sleeves were rolled up. Sweat beaded on his forehead, despite the air-conditioned chill. Florida Attorney General Ashley Moody sat at the long oak table. She scrolled through her tablet. 2 Secret Service agents flanked her. Their faces were grim. The TV in the corner droned on. Volume low. CNN's anchor cut to breaking news. President Trump has just released documents alleging misuse of $2.4 billion in federal hurricane aid by Florida officials. Sources say the governor's office funneled funds to donor-linked contractors. DeSantis stopped pacing. He jabbed the remote. He muted it. Damage control. Now. Moody looked up. Her fingers tapped rapidly. Sir, the leak hit every network. Twitter's exploding. Our DeSantis scam trending at 1.2 million posts in the last hour. Our polling just dropped 8 points in the panhandle. We need a statement. She slid a draft across the table. It denied wrongdoing. It praised recovery efforts. It called for full transparency. DeSantis snatched it. He scanned the lines. His phone vibrated. Another alert. Emails from allies in Congress. Marco Rubio's message read, "What the hell, Ron? Pull us out of this fire." He exhaled hard. The sound was ragged in the quiet room. Transparency? That's what got us here. Trump didn't just leak numbers. He twisted them. He pointed to a stack of binders on the table, internal audits from his office. Look, $1.8 billion spent on real projects. 32,000 homes repaired. 15% unemployment down in affected counties. The rest, legitimate holds for audits, not theft. Moody leaned forward. Her chair creaked. Governor, it's not just the money. Those offshore links in the dossier, $300 million to that LLC, traced to Cayman accounts. Even if it's clean, it looks dirty. Press is saying victims, 5,000 families still in temp housing while donors build luxury condos. She flipped open a folder. It revealed wire transfers dated March 2025. Sums in the tens of millions, routed through shell companies. DeSantis's fist hit the table lightly. Papers shifted. Clean? It was for economic diversification. Investors bringing in $1.5 billion in private capital for tech hubs. Florida's GDP would tank 4% without it. He turned to Moody. Get Merrick Garland on the line. Federal overreach. This is election interference. Moody nodded. She dialed. The phone rang twice before connecting. A measured voice filled the speaker. Merrick Garland, U.S. Attorney General. Ron, this is bad. DOJ's reviewing the docs. Preliminary, solid evidence of irregularities. 60% of contracts. Non-competitive, per GAO prelims. If we don't respond fast, indictments could follow by week's end. DeSantis gripped the phone tighter. Irregularities? Trump's fabricating. Those contracts saved $200 million in overruns. Steel costs spiked 25%. Tell them it's a witch hunt. The room fell silent as Garland paused. Outside, crickets chirped against the evening humidity. Moody's tablet pinged. Another update. A photo circulated. DeSantis shaking hands with a contractor CEO at a gala. Time-stamped 2 weeks post-hurricane. Caption. While Florida drowned, they partied. Public outrage swelled. Petitions for resignation hit 50,000 signatures. Moody cleared her throat. Sir, we counterattack. Leak our side. Show the Fed's own delays. FEMA approved funds 90 days late, costing us $500 million in inflation alone. DeSantis nodded slowly. His eyes narrowed. Do it, but careful. Trump's not alone. That text I got, the real dossier is coming. Yours. Someone's playing us both. Moody's eyes widened. She pulled up her secure email. A new message. Anonymous sender. Attachment encrypted. Governor, decrypt this. It implicates the president in $47 billion defense overruns. Kickbacks to his donors. But use it wrong. And it burns you too. DeSantis stared at the screen. The cursor blinked. Moody leaned in. Trap or leverage? DeSantis clicked download. The file unspooled lines of code and figures. $12 billion unaccounted in a Virginia shipyard deal, linked to Mar-a-Lago events. His pulse quickened. Leverage. We go public tomorrow. Force a joint investigation. Turn his ambush into mutual destruction. Moody exchanged glances with the agents. Tension eased slightly. She typed furiously. She drafted the counter press release, but as the clock ticked to 8 p.m., another buzz. One agent's phone. He read it. His face paled. Sir, Capitol Hill source. Trump's team just met with a House oversight. They're pushing for hearings on Florida aid. Subpoenas incoming for you and top staff. By dawn. DeSantis sank into a chair. The leather sighed under him. The TV flickered back on. Unmuted by accident. Analysts debated his downfall. He rubbed his temples. The room's air grew heavier. Hearings. Fine. We'll fight. Yet doubt flickered in his eyes. The anonymous email sat open, a digital serpent. Moody stood. She gathered her notes. Okay, ally, call the senators. DeSantis nodded, but his gaze lingered on the window. Beyond the glass, headlights approached the mansion gates, unannounced visitors, black SUVs with tinted windows. Federal badges glinted under the floodlights. Who sent them? He muttered. He rose. The lead agent knocked, voice muffled through the door. But before anyone moved, his phone lit up again. That same unknown number. Message, they're not here for you. They're here for the files you just downloaded. Run. The knock echoed through the conference room like a gavel. Ron DeSantis froze. His hand hovered over the phone. The black SUVs idled outside. Engines hummed low in the humid night. Ashley Moody moved first. She peered through the blinds. FBI plates, 3 agents, suits. No warrant visible. DeSantis pocketed his phone. The anonymous text burned in his mind. Let them in, but record everything. He nodded to Moody. Moody tapped her tablet. She activated a hidden camera. The door swung open. FBI Director Christopher Wray stepped forward. His badge glinted under the chandelier light. 2 agents flanked him. Their faces were stone. The air carried the faint scent of rain from their coats. Governor DeSantis, we need those files. The encrypted attachment you received at 7:58 p.m. DeSantis crossed his arms. His voice was even. Files? You mean the ones exposing federal corruption? Come in. Sit. He gestured to the table. Chairs scraped as they sat. Ray placed a slim folder down, a court order stamped that evening. It authorized seizure of digital evidence related to the aid scandal. This isn't a social call. Your office downloaded sensitive material that could compromise national security. Hand it over. DeSantis sat. He pulled the tablet closer. The file sat there, half decrypted. National security or covering Trump's tracks? Ray shot him a look. He ignored it. He opened his folder, pages fanned out, screenshots of the email chain, timestamps matched DeSantis's device. The attachment details $12 billion in unaccounted defense funds, but it's laced with malware. Russian IP traces, if you accessed it, your network's compromised. 40% chance of data breach per our prelim scan. Ledgers showed $8.5 million in kickbacks from a Norfolk shipyard contract, funneled through PACs tied to Mar-a-Lago fundraisers, victims named, 1,200 small contractors bankrupted by the favoritism. Compromised or convenient timing? Trump leaks on me, then feds raid for his dirt. DeSantis leaned in. His voice stayed steady. Those numbers? They show 15% overruns in your boss's deals, while Florida rebuilt with 92% efficiency. Ray's pen clicked against the table, a sharp tick. He leaned in. His voice was low. Efficiency? Your audits reveal $300 million rerouted to Cayman entities. 12 contractors, all donors. That's not rebuilding. It's enrichment. We've got 5,000 whistleblower tips since the leak. Families in the Keys still displaced, while your allies whine by. Susmeri Kaltanch from Nightout that they commerciers. He slid photos across, half-finished seawalls, contrasted with glossy ads for new resorts. The room's clock ticked past 8:30. Moody spoke up. Her tone was clipped. Whistleblowers? Paid by whom? Our counter dossier proves the feds delayed aid approvals by 120 days. Inflating costs 18% due to bureaucracy. Florida matched every dollar. State surplus of $4.2 billion invested alongside. DeSantis nodded. He built on it. You say breach? I say setup. If this malware's real, why point it to me? Unless someone's tying loose ends. One agent shifted. His shoes scuffed the carpet. Ray exhaled. He rubbed his temple. Outside, thunder rumbled. Rain pattered against the windows. He tapped his earpiece. He listened. Orders changed. Full search. We take the device. DeSantis raised a palm. He diffused the tension. Wait, let's negotiate. You get a copy, redacted. We get your full GAO report on those defense funds. Mutual audit. Or this hits the wires by morning. Ray paused. His eyes flicked to his team. The pen stopped clicking. You drive a hard bargain, Governor, but if this escalates, DOJ indicts first. 70% of your contracts flagged for review. DeSantis smiled faintly. He slid the tablet over. Indict? Then expose. Florida's ports move $900 billion in trade. Cut us off and the economy loses 2.5 million jobs nationwide. They huddled, whispers, low. The rain intensified, minutes stretched. Moody's phone buzzed. Silent mode, but the screen lit. A text from Senator Marco Rubio. Oversight hearing tomorrow. Trump's testifying. Your move. DeSantis glanced. His heart rate steadied. Leverage. Ray straightened. Deal, copy only, but we're sealing your comms for 48 hours. Agents moved. They plugged in drives. The whir of fans filled the silence. As they worked, DeSantis's secure line rang. Caller ID... White House switchboard, he answered on speaker. Trump's voice boomed through. Ron, feds with you? Good. Tell them to hurry. I've got the real story ready for the Hill. The line clicked dead. Ray's face tightened. He realized the play. DeSantis gathered his notes. The search wrapped. Papers rustled. Devices beeped. Moody whispered, he's one step ahead. But as the agents filed out into the storm, Ray handed back a flash drive. Extra, unmarked. Off record. Check this later. Not all of us are blind. The door closed. Rain lashed harder. DeSantis inserted the drive. Files unfolded. Internal FBI memos on Trump's donor network. 22 million traced to foreign lobbies. His eyes widened. Betrayal within betrayal. Yet Moody's alert chimed again. Breaking. Anonymous source leaks DeSantis's full donor list to media. Names tied to organized crime probes. The balance tipped. Now the hounds chased from all sides. The rain had, stopped. leaving the air in the governor's mansion heavy with damp earth. It was 10:45 p.m. The conference room lights cast harsh shadows on the walls. Ron DeSantis sat alone now. The flash drive from FBI Director Christopher Wray plugged into his secure laptop. Screen glow illuminated his face. Lines etched deeper, files scrolled, memos detailing $22 million in Trump's donor funds, routed through Israeli and Qatari lobbies. 80% tied to defense contracts, evading FEC disclosures. Victims named 200 small contractors bankrupted by the favoritism. He exhaled slowly. The chair creaked under him. Ashley Moody had stepped out for a call. But the leak alert still burned. His donor list splashed across Fox and MSNBC, names like those from a 2023 RICO probe for construction rackets. 15 donors, $8.7 million total, now under IRS scrutiny. Public reaction swelled. Florida polls dipped. Another 5 points. 62% called for an independent probe. DeSantis rubbed his eyes. This wasn't just exposure, it was systematic dismantling. His phone buzzed. Moody, from the hall. "Sir, CNN's running the list, linking it to the aid scandal. They say $450 million in contracts went to those firms. Total losses, $1.1 billion if audits hold." DeSantis stood. He paced to the window. Tallahassee's streets gleamed wet under street lamps. "Get Senator Rubio on the line. We counter with this." He tapped the drive. But doubt gnawed. Ray's gift could be poison, another layer in the ambush. The door opened. Moody entered. Steam rose from a styrofoam cup. "Governor, it's worse. Senate Democrats just piled on. Senator Elizabeth Warren's tweet, 'Florida's graft endangers our coasts. Time for federal takeover of aid funds.' That's 12 states echoing, threatening to withhold port security grants worth $300 million. Moody nodded. Her tablet open to reactions. Elite circles stirred. Wall Street Journal op-ed decried crony capitalism. GOP donors whispered of pulling $50 million in midterm support. DeSantis turned, his voice firm. "Takeover, over my veto. Florida's matching funds hit $2.8 billion this fiscal year. More than any state. Those leaks are fabricated. Our donor list, public record, no crimes." He slid the laptop toward her. "But this, Trump's real skeletons, $22 million foreign influence, inflating defense budgets 17%. We release it at the hearing tomorrow. Force parity." Moody scanned the files. Her brow furrowed. "Risky. If it's tainted, we look desperate. And victims? Navy vets protesting outside the Capitol now. 1,500 strong, blaming aid diversions for their shortfalls." DeSantis leaned on the table, his knuckles white. "Call Rubio. Build the coalition. But first, verify this drive. No traps." Moody pulled a second device. She ran scans. Minutes ticked by. The clock's second hand swept loudly. Outside, a car door slammed. More arrivals? Moody checked the feed. A lone figure in a trench coat approaching the side entrance. "Unknown, not feds." DeSantis waved it off. The scan beeped green. "Clean. Russian traces were on the email, not here." Relief washed briefly, but Moody's face darkened. "Wait. Metadata shows Ray accessed it 48 hours ago." He knew. Betrayal sting hit fresh. DeSantis straightened. "Knew and handed it over? Ally inside the beast." He drafted the release. In light of new evidence, Florida demands joint congressional probe into federal aid and defense anomalies. Transparency for all. $2.4 billion Florida funds versus $47 billion national overruns. Moody polished it. Numbers stark. Florida's 95% recovery rate against D.C.'s 12% efficiency in similar disasters. The trenchcoat figure knocked softly. DeSantis nodded to Moody. She opened the door. Senator Marco Rubio entered. Sharp suit. ID badge from the Senate. "Governor, off-record meeting. We represent secondary players. Energy firms hit by your subsidies. $1.2 billion in lost. Refinery deals, but we can flip. Lobby for your defense if you expose Trump's cuts to clean energy grants. 30% slashed last quarter." His eyes flicked to the laptop. New interests indeed. Opportunists circling the fray. DeSantis gestured him to sit. "Flip how? Specifics." Rubio placed a slim dossier. Proposals for a bipartisan bill. Merging state-federal oversight. Florida gaining $800 million in green infrastructure. Society's watching. Polls show 68% want accountability on both sides. Your clash with Trump? It's galvanizing reform, but act now or the elite buries you both. The air thickened, scents of coffee mixed with Rubio's cologne. Citrus, sharp. Moody crossed her arms. Reform or another scheme? Those energy firms donated $4 million to DeSantis' PAC. Rubio smiled thinly. Past is past. Future's $5 billion in joint ventures. Take it or watch your port seized under emergency powers. 42 facilities, $900 billion trade at risk. DeSantis, wait it. The room silent save for the hum of the AC. Moody whispered, leverage, but it dilutes our attack. He nodded to Rubio. We'll consider. Leave the dossier. Rubio rose, pausing at the door. Tick-tock. Media's at the gates. 200 reporters now, demanding your statement. The door clicked shut. DeSantis exhaled, the weight settling. Society reacted. Protests swelled in Miami. 3,000 marchers chanted against Washington waste. Spilling into elite golf clubs where donors huddled, Moody hit send on the release. Out to allies. Senators briefed. But as notifications flooded, support from 14 GOP holdouts, outrage from blue states. Moody's phone rang. She answered, her face drained. Governor, Capitol source, Trump's testimony just leaked. He names you in perjury, says you hid $600 million in state slush funds. Evidence, your own emails. DeSantis' grip tightened on the chair. The balance shattered. Revelation turned to rout. Elite whispers grew to roars. New players demanded seats at the table, yet Rubio's dossier lay open, a hidden path amid the chaos. As dawn crept in, another alert. FBI warrant amended, full raid, at 6 a.m. Destroy what you can. The game escalated, doors closing fast. Dawn broke gray over Tallahassee, the sky bruised from the night storm. It was 5:45 a.m. The governor's mansion felt like a fortress under siege. Ron. DeSantis stood in the conference room, the air stale with the scent of cold coffee and printer ink. Ashley Moody worked at the table, shredding non-essential documents into a humming machine. Senator Marco Rubio paced nearby, his phone glued to his ear, coordinating with House allies. DeSantis glanced at the clock. The FBI raid loomed in 15 minutes. Rubio ended his call, face taut. House oversights advance in the hearing to noon. Trump's pushing for your subpoena on live TV. They want you in D.C. by 10 a.m., escorted if needed. Moody looked up from the shredder, paper strips curling like snakes. Escorted? That's intimidation. Florida's AG office is filing for a stay. Cite state sovereignty. Our ports generate $130 billion annually. Federal overreach could trigger a constitutional crisis. DeSantis nodded sharply. He inserted the flash drive into a burner laptop, copying key files. The $22 million foreign lobby traces, cross-referenced with FEC filings showing 45% evasion in Trump's PACs. Crisis? Good. We use it. Leaked the defense overruns to the press en route. $47 billion total, 12% pure waste per DOD internals. Victims? 8,000 veterans benefits delayed by 6 months. Rubio stopped pacing, leaning in. Bold, but Garland's DOJ just issued a preliminary finding. Your aid contracts violate 18 U.S.C. § 666. Embezzlement threshold hit, $5,000 per instance, times 2,400 claims. The room's tension spiked like voltage. Outside, engines rumbled, FBI vans approaching the gates, lights off but sirens silent. Moody's tablet chimed, a secure line from the White House counsel's office. She answered on speaker. Pat Cipollone's voice crackled through, measured and cold. Governor, stand down. The president offers a deal. Rescind your counter-release and we pause the raid. In exchange, Florida gets $1 billion untied infrastructure funds. No strings, except silence on the defense files. DeSantis' laugh was bitter, short. He leaned into the speaker. Silence? After he ambushed me with twisted GAO numbers? Your boss's overruns cost taxpayers $6.2 billion in interest alone last year. Florida's surplus covers 100% match on aid, unlike the Fed's 22% shortfall in similar programs. Cipollone paused, the line humming. Refuse and indictments drop by 9 a.m. House votes to impeach state officials. Your name first. 218 Republicans lined up, plus 20 Democrats smelling blood. Rubio interjected, voice rising. Impeach a governor? That's unprecedented. Senate won't touch it. McConnell's already hedging, citing midterm risks. Florida's 29 electoral votes could flip the map. The shredder whirred louder as Moody fed in more pages. Thunder rumbled distantly, a remnant of the storm. DeSantis straightened, eyes hard. Tell Trump no deal. We're going to the Hill, full disclosure. Your $12 billion shipyard ghosts against our $300 million offshores, which were vetted investments yielding 18% ROI for the state. The line went dead. Cipollone's hang-up echoed like a slam. Moody's phone buzzed again, alert from Capitol Police. Protests swelling outside the Rayburn House office building, 4,000 strong, split between Audit Florida signs and Stop Trump Waste. Media helicopters thumped overhead, blades slicing the humid air. Rubio checked his watch. Helicopters waiting at the airstrip. We fly now or they cuff you here. DeSantis grabbed his briefcase, the weight of memos inside grounding him. Fly. But route through Tampa. Pick up Governor Newsom's envoy. California's suing over similar federal delays. Their $2.1 billion wildfire aid stalled 180 days. Alliance forms mid-air. Moody nodded, pocketing the burner drive. Smart, psychological play, shows bipartisan pressure. Polls shifting, 55% now blame D.C. bureaucracy over state mismanagement. Sirens wailed closer, floodlights piercing the dawn through the windows. Agents shouted orders outside, boots crunching gravel. Rubio cracked the door, peering out. They're breaching the perimeter. 2 minutes. DeSantis exhaled, the room's air thick with adrenaline. He turned to Moody. Hold the fort. File that stay with the 11th Circuit. Emergency injunction. Cite $900 billion trade disruption if ports freeze, she affirmed, fingers flying on her tablet. The trio slipped out a side exit, hearts pounding in sync. Black SUVs, state-plated, waited in the shadows, engines idling. They piled in, tires screeching as they peeled away. Rubio's phone lit up, text from Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. Heard about the raid, Democrats block impeachment vote if you share defense files. But Garland testifies. First, your move. DeSantis stared at the screen, the mansion shrinking in the rear view. Counterattack launched, but stakes soared. Now the entire federal apparatus mobilized against him. Moody's voice cut through from the passenger seat. Circuit Court just granted a temp stay. Raid delayed 2 hours, but Trump's tweeting, Florida's hiding more than sand, full exposure coming. The highway blurred past, but a new alert pinged. Anonymous source to AP leaked audio of DeSantis's Oval Office threats, edited to sound like extortion. Public fury ignited. Stock in Florida-linked firms plunged 7%. Rubio cursed under his breath. Institutional warfare. Higher up circling. Expect SCOTUS whispers by lunch. As the chopper loomed ahead, rotors whipping mist, DeSantis gripped the door handle. The balance teetered. Alliances forming, but threats multiplying like shadows at dusk. One wrong word on the Hill, and the system cracked wide. But Rubio's next call connected to California Governor Gavin Newsom himself. Ron, wheels up in 10. We've got your back, but only if you name the foreign lobbies in open session. $22 million. That's our leverage, too. The chopper's downwash rattled the SUV, a whirlwind pulling them into the fray. The helicopter's rotors thumped relentlessly over the Everglades, slicing through low clouds, heavy with the morning's humidity. It was 7:20 a.m. Inside the cabin, Ron DeSantis sat strapped in, the leather seats vibrating under him. Across from him, California Governor Gavin Newsom adjusted his headset, his face lit by the glow of a shared tablet. Ashley Moody monitored feeds on her phone while Marco Rubio coordinated with D.C. contacts via satellite link. The air smelled of jet fuel and tension, sharp and metallic. DeSantis scanned the files again. The $22 million foreign lobby traces, now cross-verified with Newsom's wildfire aid data, $2.1 billion delayed by federal red tape, costing 15% in lost mitigation. Gavin, your suit against FEMA, it's the wedge. Tie our scandals together. Trump's overruns hit $47 billion, our combined losses, $49.5 billion in state-federal mismatches. Newsom nodded, voice steady over the engine roar. Agreed, but we go public with the lobbies. Qatari funds to Trump's PACs, 80% evasion. California ports lost $1.8 billion in trade last quarter from similar delays. Victims, 3,500 displaced families, still in trailers. Moody interjected, her screen flashing alerts. Press is swarming Andrews Air Force Base. 6,000 protesters now. Half for you, half against. CNN's live. Garland's DOJ briefing at 8 a.m. promising indictments on the aid contracts. 2,400 violations, they claim. $5,000 threshold each. Rubio leaned forward, wiping sweat from his brow despite the AC. Counter. House Republicans defecting. McConnell's office leaked a memo, blocks impeachment if we expose the defense ghosts. $12 billion unaccounted in Virginia shipyards alone. The chopper banked toward Tampa International, where Newsom's envoy waited, a liaison from the California AG's office, but DeSantis waved off the pickup. Direct to D.C., no stops. Rubio, get Schumer on the line. Rubio dialed, the connection crackling. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer's voice came through, clipped and urgent. Ron, Democrats hold the line on your subpoena, barely. But Garland's testifying first. He says your $300 million offshores were money laundering, not investment. 18% ROI? Fabricated per IRS prelims. DeSantis gripped the armrest, knuckles paling. Fabricated? Florida's surplus grew $4.2 billion on those deals, verified by state auditors. Your side's delays cost us $500 million in inflation. If Garland indicts, we walk out with the full dossier. Bipartisan walkout. 51 senators, freezing the hearing. Schumer paused, the line humming like a held breath. Outside, the Gulf Coast blurred below, waves crashing white against shores scarred by storms. Risky, but do it. We've got 22 blue state AGs ready to file amicus briefs. Total aid shortfalls $112 billion nationwide since 2020. Newsom added, leaning in. Psychological edge, announce the alliance mid-flight. Tweet it, governors unite against D.C. waste. $49.5 billion at stake. Polls flip overnight, 58% now see federal overreach. Moody typed furiously, hitting send. The tweet went viral instantly. 1.4 million views in minutes. Hashtags merging Dark Audit DC and Under Florida First. But Rubio's face darkened as his phone pinged. Bad news. Trump's Oval Office address at 9 a.m. He's invoking emergency powers, freezes all state aid pending review. Florida's $2.4 billion clawed back, effective immediately. The cabin fell silent, save for the rotor's whine. DeSantis's jaw set. Clawback? That's economic warfare. Our ports handle 40% of imports, $800 billion yearly. Shutdown costs 2.5 million jobs. National GDP dips 1.2%. Moody's alert chimed. Stock markets reacting. Dow futures down 3%. Florida bonds tumbling 8%. Protests escalated. 10,000 now at the Capitol. Clashes with police. Tear gas canisters popping like fireworks. Newsom exhaled sharply. Higher authority incoming. Biden's former chief of staff, Ron Klain, just called me. Off record. Says intel community's watching. CIA flags Russian ties in both dossiers. Mutual destruction if you release. Rubio hung up from Schumer. Confirmed. House Oversight Chair just caved. Joint session with Senate Intelligence, 11 a.m. Stakes, not just funds, the whole oversight system. If we win transparency, reforms hit. Mandatory audits for all federal-state deals, $200 billion saved over 5 years. DeSantis stood as much as the cabin allowed, the chopper descending toward a secure airstrip outside D.C. Then we push. Backroom deal. I testify after Garland with Newsom beside me. Expose the lobbies, demand his resignation. The landing gear kissed tarmac, jolting them. Black SUVs waited, flanked by Capitol Police. They disembarked into a swarm of cameras. 200 reporters shouting questions, flashes popping like gunfire. Moody shielded the tablet as they loaded in. Rubio's phone buzzed non-stop. McConnell texting, "Hold fire. Trump's offering truce, $1.5 billion restored if you drop the foreign angle." DeSantis ignored it, the convoy speeding toward the Hill. Sirens cleared the way, but traffic jammed with protest vehicles, banners reading "Power to States" versus "No More Lies." Inside the SUV, Newsom turned to DeSantis. Truce or trap? Klain warned. International actors, EU sanctions looming if U.S. instability spreads. $300 billion in trade at risk. Moody nodded. Pressure mounting. 11th Circuit upheld the stay. Rate offer 72 where and these weeksu ans. But Garland's en route. DOJ chopper overhead. The Russell Senate office building loomed ahead, marble steps swarming with aides and guards. Rubio checked intel. Schumer's secured the room. Closed session first, then open. But leaks say Trump's team planted a whistleblower. Claims your emails show direct kickbacks, $600 million hidden. DeSantis's pulse thrummed as they pulled up. Secret Service agents formed a cordon, shoving back the crowd. The doors swung open, cool air rushing in like a gasp. He stepped out, flanked by Newsom and Rubio, Moody at his side. Whistleblower, bring it. We've got 51 senators, 22 AGs, and the truth, $49 billion. In waste exposed. Cameras rolled, the nation watching. But as they entered the hearing room, dark wood panels, flags drooping in still air, a side door creaked open. Merrick Garland entered, folder in hand, eyes meeting DeSantis's, with steel resolve. The gavel would fall soon, but Garland whispered to an aide, audible in the hush. Start with the perjury charge. Make it stick. DeSantis froze mid-step, the room's gravity shifting. Counterattack met wall. Now legal noose tightened, with intel shadows lengthening. Schumer approached, hand extended. Ron, last chance, negotiate in chambers, or the system devours you both. The door to the back room closed behind them, sealing the clash in. Whispers and deals. The back room in the Russell Senate office building reeked of aged leather and stale cigar smoke, the kind that clung to the walls despite the no-smoking signs. It was 10:55 a.m. Dim lamps cast pools of yellow light on the long mahogany table, where shadows danced from the fidgeting hands of the gathered figures. Ron DeSantis sat at one end, his suit rumpled from the flight, eyes locked on Merrick Garland across from him. Gavin Newsom flanked DeSantis, Marco Rubio to his right, while Chuck Schumer occupied the head, gavel idle in his fist. Attorney General Garland's folder lay open, pages crisp with redacted lines. The air conditioner hummed faintly, battling the room's rising heat. Schumer cleared his throat, the sound cutting the tension like a knife. Gentlemen, this isn't theater. Oversight's live in 5. Garland, your perjury charge. Lay it out. Ron, your counter. No games. Garland leaned forward, his voice measured, each word waited. Governor, your emails, time-stamped March 15, 2025, direct $600 million from aid reserves to a state slush fund, labeled discretionary infrastructure, but traced to donor PACs. 18 U.S.C., paragraph 1001, false statements to federal auditors. Victims, 7,200 Florida families denied full FEMA payouts, now facing 12% higher insurance rates. DeSantis's fingers drummed once on the table, stopping abruptly. He slid his own printouts across. Burned copies from the flash drive. False? Those transfers rebuilt 22 coastal facilities, averting $3.2 billion in future storm damage. GAO's own delays inflated our cost 25%, $1.1 billion lost to bureaucracy. Your DOJ ignored that in the indictment rush. Newsom interjected, his tone sharp. And Trump's side, $47 billion defense bloat. Lockheed contracts alone over by $8.9 billion, 40% funneled to red state bases. California lost $2.1 billion. And wildfire aid waiting on approvals. This isn't state crime, it's systemic rot. Rubio nodded, pulling up a tablet feed. Senate intel confirms Russian traces in both dossiers were planted. CIA prelims show 92% likelihood of domestic hack, not foreign. Mutual blackmail. If we air this, reforms pass, mandatory joint audits, capping overruns at 5%. Garland's eyes narrowed, pen tapping slowly. Outside, muffled chants from the 10,000 protesters filtered through the walls. Transparency now, clashing with lock her up, aimed at no one in particular. Schumer rubbed his chin. Reforms? Fine. But stakes. House votes impeachment articles by 2 p.m. if no deal. Florida's ports? Freeze. $900 billion trade halted, 2.5 million jobs evaporate. The room's clock ticked louder, seconds stretching. DeSantis leaned in, voice low. Deal? Rescind the clawback. Restore $2.4 billion aid, plus $1 billion for bipartisan oversight board. In return, we bury the lobbies. Your $22 million foreign ties stay redacted. Garland exhaled, the sound heavy. Impossible. President's directive. Full exposure or escalation. DOJ's got $51. Witnesses, contractors testifying to 60% non-competitive bids in Florida. Losses, $450 million direct graft. Newsom's phone vibrated silently. He glanced, text from California AG Rob Bonta. EU allies threatening tariffs, $300 billion U.S. exports at risk if instability drags. Tension coiled tighter, chairs creaking as Rubio shifted. He whispered to DeSantis, McConnell's wavering. GOP senators split 52-48 on blocking impeachment. One defection and you're done. Schumer banged the gavel lightly, not for order but emphasis. Clock's ticking. Compromise, joint probe under Senate leadership. No indictments for 90 days. Florida gets interim funds, $1.8 billion. But you testify clean, Ron. No dossier drop. DeSantis waited, the air thick with unspoken threats. 90 days? And Trump's address? He freezes everything publicly. Garland's pen stopped. Address is theater. Private word. He backs the probe if you do. A knock rattled the door. Urgent, from an aide. Schumer opened it a crack. Whispers. Garland, urgent call. White House, international angle heating up. Garland stepped out, leaving the folder behind. DeSantis seized the moment, scanning a loose page. Unredacted memo. On Qatari funds. $14.2 million to Trump's inaugural committee, evading disclosure by 78%. Leverage, he muttered to Newsom. Rubio's eyes widened. Use it subtle, hint in testimony. But Garland returned, face ashen. Change. Intel communities in. CIA Director Burns demands closed session addendum. Russian actors exploited the leak. Full system breach possible. Stakes, national security, not just funds. The group froze, the room's humidity pressing like a vice. Schumer stood. New play, all testimony under oath, but probe expands. Defense, aid, foreign influence. $200 billion potential savings, but indictments hold if perjury sticks. DeSantis rose, briefcase in hand. Agreed. But if Burns testifies first, we walk. Bipartisan boycott. 60 senators out, Newsom affirmed. California pulls port security cooperation. $1.8 billion withheld. Garland nodded curtly. Done. But one lie, and the noose tightens. They filed out into the corridor, marble floors echoing boots. The hearing room doors loomed, packed with 435 House members and 100 senators, cameras rolling nationwide. Protests raged outside, 12,000 now. Barriers straining, Rubio's phone pinged. McConnell's text, probe, yes, but protect the boss, or midterms, bury us all. DeSantis straightened his tie, the weight of the system bearing down. Backroom fragile peace. But escalation brewed. Intel shadows promising deeper cuts. As they entered, the gavel fell, Chairman James Comer calling order. Garland took the stand first, oath sworn. But DeSantis's secure line buzzed in his pocket. Unknown numbers of birds out. Bratientaui instals. Prialstalverzi was amwaying. The real hack source, Trialbury's Prialbuers, your own staff, betrayal incoming. The witness chair waited, but the floor shifted, higher authority's hand, poised to crush the truce before it formed. The hearing room in the Capitol thrummed with restrained chaos, the air thick with the scent of polished wood and overheated electronics from the live feeds. It was 11:45 a.m. Overhead lights buzzed faintly, casting stark shadows on the tiered benches packed with 535 lawmakers, their suits rumpled from hours of haggling. Ron DeSantis sat at the witness table, hands folded, his face a mask of resolve under the glare of C-SPAN cameras. Merrick Garland had just stepped down, his testimony a scalpel, detailing $600 million in alleged Florida slush funds, backed by 51 affidavits from contractors claiming 65% kickbacks. The room's tension hummed like a live wire. Outside, 15,000 protesters clashed with barriers, chants of "Justice for the Forgotten" echoing through the vents. Chairman James Comer rapped the gavel, his voice booming over the murmurs. "Governor DeSantis, you may proceed, but remember, under oath, the nation watches." DeSantis raised his right hand, swearing the truth, as the clerk intoned the words. He leaned into the microphone, voice steady, eyes sweeping the dais where Chuck Schumer nodded subtly, Gavin Newsom gripped the rail, and Marco Rubio whispered to Mitch McConnell. "Mr. Chairman, this isn't about one state or one scandal. It's the system's fracture. Florida's $2.4 billion aid rebuilt 47 bridges and saved $150 billion in projected damages. But federal delays, 120 days on average, cost us $1.1 billion in inflation alone. Victims, 32,000 families in temp housing, unemployment spiking 15% in the Keys." Comer leaned forward, brow furrowed. "Savings? GAO says 60% of your contracts bypass bids, funneled to donors. $450 million lost to graft. How do you square that?" DeSantis slid a binder forward, pages flipping to ledgers. "Square it with facts. Those bypasses cut overruns by 22%. Steel prices jumped 25% post-storm. Florida matched every federal dollar with $4.2 billion from our surplus. Compare. National defense budgets under this administration bloated 15% to $47 billion in overruns. Lockheed alone, $8.9 billion excess, 40% to red state bases. Taxpayers footed $6.2 billion in interest. 8,000 veterans wait on benefits, delayed 6 months. Gasps rippled through the chamber. Schumer interjected from the Senate side, voice rising. "Governor, specifics on those overruns?" DeSantis tapped the binder. FEC filings show $22 million in foreign lobbies, Qatari and Israeli funds evading disclosure by 78%, tied to Mar-a-Lago events and PACs. Not coincidence. Virginia shipyards, $12 billion untucked. Guy Dio. On I dinape pitake main spay Israel C in C's flight later. And, in 20 costs of wind. If Florida's under fire, so is D.C. $200 billion potential waste nationwide. Per joint audits we demand. Newsom stood, adding weight. California echoes. $2.1 billion wildfire aid stalled 180 days. Ports lost $1.8 billion in trade. Bipartisan reform. Cap overruns at 5%. Mandatory state-federal boards. The room erupted. Democrats applauding. Republicans shifting uneasily. McConnell's face tightened. He whispered to Rubio, who nodded grimly. Garland, from his seat, objected sharply. "Speculation. DOJ's probe shows Florida's offshores as laundering. $300 million to Cayman shells. 18% ROI fabricated. Indictments imminent unless you retract." DeSantis met his gaze. "Retract? Verify. Our auditors confirm the ROI. Tech hubs yielding $1.5 billion private capital. Your delays? Systemic. 22 blue state AGs filed today. $112 billion shortfall since 2020. Comer banged the gavel repeatedly, restoring order as pages buzzed. Phones, texts from the White House. Alerts, flashing on screens. Outside, sirens wailed. Clashes intensified. 18 injured reported. Rubio leaned to DeSantis, murmuring, "McConnell's folding. GOP votes probe. But impeachment articles draft now. 218 in House." Schumer signaled a recess, but DeSantis pressed on, voice rising. "This ends today. Joint resolution. No clawbacks. Restore $2.4 billion to Florida, $1 billion to California. Transparency bill passes by voice vote. Or we walk. 60 senators out. Gridlock until midterms." Pandemonium followed. Lawmakers surged forward, arguments flaring. Senator Elizabeth Warren decrying corporate capture, while Comer demanded order. Newsom's phone lit. Text from Ron Klain. "Intel confirms hack domestic. Trump's team planted Russian traces. Burns testifies next." DeSantis seized it, announcing, "CIA Director William Burns, your turn. Expose the source." Burns entered from a side door, folder in hand, face grave. The room hushed as he swore in. Under oath, Burns detailed. The dossiers? Hacked internally. 92% domestic origin from a White House server breach. No Russian actors. A staffer, under investigation, fed leaks to both sides. Foreign lobbies real, $22 million confirmed, but mutual. System breach, 40% of federal contracts vulnerable, $300 billion trade at risk if unchecked. Gasps turned to outrage. Garland's face paled. He stood, objecting, but Comer overruled. McConnell rose, voice thunderous. Motion to table impeachment. Vote now. The chamber voted. Senate 55-45 for probe, House 220, 215 against impeachment. Reforms locked. Bipartisan oversight board, audits capping waste at 5%, $200 billion projected savings over 5 years. DeSantis exhaled, the weight lifting slightly as applause mixed with boos, but Rubio's alert chimed. Trump's response? Resigns? No. Counter. Executive order for special counsel on all parties. Newsom gripped DeSantis' shoulder. Turning point, but personal toll, your polls rebound 12 points, mine 8. But Garland's eyeing appeals. As the session adjourned, protesters breached outer barriers, flooding the halls with chants. Schumer approached, handshake firm. You change the game, Ron. Power shifts. Not to states alone, but accountability. DeSantis nodded, stepping into the corridor where cameras swarmed. Rubio whispered, broken? No, elevated, but watch your back. Staff betrayal means eyes inside. The sun pierced the clouds outside, casting long shadows on the Capitol steps. DeSantis paused at the doors, phone buzzing, unknown number. Audit passed, but the real files, buried deeper, your move next. He deleted it. The system reformed, but scars fresh. Florida's ports hummed back online, $900 billion flowing, but the nation's self-image cracked. Trust in D.C. at 28%, states rising 15%. Personal victories, DeSantis' re-election odds surged 22%, Trump's approval dipped 9%, yet Garland's shadow lingered, a final indictment threat whispered in the wind. Newsom clapped his back. Alliance holds, but the board meets tomorrow, new rules, new fights. DeSantis descended the steps, crowd parting, the weight of change heavy but unbroken. The ambush exposed, the structure bent but standing. America's power realigned, one revelation at a time.